This was last night's lesson. We'd done females' heads for a while, and there's nothing like a beard for a charcoal artist. You can never have enough beardy old men references or subjects. Beards are just made for charcoal. So, in that, I'm back on the squeaky chair again. Sorry about that. I'm going to have to fix this in some way. I'd stand up, but I can't. The roof's too small. The roof's too low. Yeah, so this was last night's, and I think what's interesting about this was it could have easily been just a floating head, just a usual sort of charcoal head floating on white paper. But of late, I've now, and I talked about this context thing last night, I've been putting more to the shoulders, basically. I've talked about this before when I put a neckline in it, or the part of the collar in it, because I feel as it needs a plinth, something to rest the head on. And but this context thing, where it amplifies first of all, shoulders sometimes are necessary to explain why the head's in a particular sort of pose. You need to explain why the head's tilted or twisted or whatever. So the shoulders use that, but in this instance, using the shoulders to amplify the emotion. I think that's what it is, because his head's buried in his chest, looking down, and it's clearly there is a leaning. You can see there's a slight leaning of the upper part of his body towards something that's maybe concerning him. It's that sort of somber inquisition kind of thing. But as I said, the creating context to amplify the emotion is a I wouldn't say it's a trick, but it's sometimes a necessary component of getting the mood across. Because one of the things that I draw or try to draw is the emotional aspect of it. This what I'm going to do in a minute, it's also got emotion in it. So that's kind of what I am drawn to draw something that has emotion in it. So if I can create the context to amplify the emotion, and this is where I was talking about, drawing and painting, or drawing a painting. It's more than just a drawing at that point. It's a painting. It's something that regardless of the medium, it's something that is capturing a moment more than just their eyelashes or the colour of their eyes or a particular wave in their hair. It's more than that. It's got to be more than that for me. I think that's, as I'm doing more and more of these, it becomes clearer that it's not just about capturing the details. That was one from the other night. Again, there's emotion in that. I don't know if you saw that one. That was quite a rapid one. This was rapid, but this is very rapid. And that one that was yesterday morning's live was this one. And I quite like this one because of the drama that it created by not completing this. There was just so much. Even then, you could say that it's a floating head, but it's not. It's there is emotion. This silhouette, this deep dark background with its hazy, not quite flat feeling about it, actually amplifies the emotion of it. So, and the other thing about that is it's one of those where, do I finish it and do I stop here? Because at the moment it actually felt right. They felt that it was the emotion. Same with this one. It's like, stop. It's one of those things. It feels right. Stop. It's not about it looks right. Stop. It feels right. Stop. Is the thing I ask myself. So I'm going to draw this guy. So you can never really get too many, or have too many beard references. Again, a lot of emotion in the eyes in this one. Back on the, well, I say still on the same piece. This is the same piece that's done all of those. 3 so far out of one piece. When it happens, when I manage to find a decent piece of charcoal, it does last. You know, it does all the things I wanted to do, but it also, it lasts. And let me just get my eyes focused on what's happening. I'm gonna put the shirt in there, so I don't want it to be too low down. Yeah, I think that'll give me about the things I need. Yeah, so it I don't know whether it's to do with the density of things. I mean, those are quite dense images, but it's still, it just gives me a lot more. Productivity from one of these, one of these that really work well. It's we tried the crack willow yesterday. This one, very straight. Right, this is a tin full of this stuff. Very straight, all very straight. It's terrible. That's terrible compared to hazel. It's like scratchy and just really not good. It's you have to work at it. One of the things I was talking about yesterday with the beard, especially. I'm not going to wave that one around too much because the working on the cheap copier paper, it doesn't hold the charcoal. I'll shake most of it off if I keep moving it around. But the ability to make marks with no effort is a big thing for me when it comes to things like, say, the beard. I don't really want to be carving it in. As the same with everything, I suppose, across the face. It's still, if I want to put tone on it, I also want to drift across with not hardly touching the surface. But then, it builds up. Got quite a few good beard references I found for yesterday's lesson, so I'm going to probably be doing a few today of these. Trying not to keep them, all the same pose, but I'll stick them in the members area as well if you manage to do the lesson and have a desire to do more beards. I'll put this one in as well. So. saw this person on Instagram proclaiming that they were going to do a self-portrait, and they do it every year, the usual sort of reasoning they do. People, I don't know, I suppose since Rembrandt did it, everybody thinks that that's the kind of thing they should say and they should do, but anyway. Talk to my youngest son, saying, yeah, when I say things like this, and he says, you think there's such a thing as independent thought, Dad? Some people don't have it, do they? But yeah, so I saw this person proclaiming that they were going to do it, and they were going to do it as a hyper-realistic portrait. Haven't done it in a while, apparently. That's what I said, and it was terrifying them. And I just everything that I say is right encapsulated in that very comment, in that very statement. She's proclaimed that it will be, done in a particular way. It's not really a style, but you know what I mean. It's a way of working, I suppose, hyperrealism. But so she proclaimed that, and that's like that's the first mistake. It's going to be this, is it? You do get what this is all about, don't you? You do get that this is us responding to the world and not really defining how we're going to respond. You can't, it may well be that you are a hyper-realistic painter or artist. That's by the by. That's just how your thing happens. But the idea of it's going to be whatever happens, it's going to be is the way of looking at it. And the other problem, apart from this proclamation that it will be this thing, it will be done in this way, self-portraits it's an opportunity to really do this properly, because you ain't got that, or you shouldn't have that diktat that it must be a copy of a face, it must be detailed, it must be exactly the face, it must be every hair and every. You haven't got any of that the normals think that is defines a portrait. You haven't got any of that because it's you, and you can do it properly, so to speak, and you can examine your soul, and because it's you're probably who you should be. In fact, it's probably not true actually what I'm about to say, that if you don't know yourself, you don't know anybody. But that's the thing. People don't examine themselves and understand that that's what a self-portrait is. It's a chance to show the world who you really are. That's what it is. And it may not be hyper-realistic. It may not be necessary to be hyper-realistic, but that's by the by. In a sense, you'll just respond, and it may be unrecognisable as you, but it captures your soul because that's how you feel at that moment. That's what a self-portrait is. You have to expose your soul to the world, but people are locked into the replication thing, even of themselves. A good light and their nose a little bit smaller, that kind of thing. But I don't know. It's a funny thing. It's like, I would say that asking someone to do a self-portrait would be the best way to get to understand whether or not they understand, or to see whether they understand what this is all about. And if it is a replication process, then you kind of know that they're a particular kind of artist that veers towards the illustration as opposed to, you know, the art. And I use that word lightly because I don't really think that it's a good word to describe what we do. I think being creative is what we are, what we do. We are creative, and the designation of art is something that is not really for us to do, because art can be many things. It can be decorative, it can be food, it can be dancing, it can be, you know, it can be music, obviously. But and that's often for somebody else to decide, you know. I said yesterday about this charcoal, because it being so granular, and because it doesn't sit on the paper that well, it's got a like a I've got to fix these eyes. It's the angle of dangle is completely wrong there, mate. Completely wrong. Let me get this working a bit better. I'm going to fix these things now because it's I'm losing the you know, the it's not motion, but it's the direction. The direction of his gaze, the direction of his I don't think it's his tilt, the tilt of his head or anything. I think it's just the it's the focus thing, because it's kind of focusing down here, and I'm not getting the right. You know, I'm not getting the feeling of the direction of his focus. That's what it is. So let me just see if I can. I think that's better. But still not quite right. And then the other thing is this. I'm looking at this shape here on his cheek, that one there, look. And I'm thinking about the size of it in comparison to. Get rid of that highlight there. So that in comparison to that one there, for instance, that one there. Just get rid of that, and then yeah, this all about this charcoal, because of this granular. Yeah. It's starting to look in the right direction now, because this granular nature of it. Let me just get the distance. I'm going to check the distance from there to there, which is where the chin, top and bottom of the chin is. So it's about there, and then his beard sort of comes like that underneath there, and his neck goes into there, and then his shirt comes going like that, and then round there. We'll yeah, I think the direction's changed now. So this build-up, this surface build-up, creates something of a, I don't know if it's texture, because on the one from the other night, the guy with the white hair and the cutout, the cutout front of his face, there was lots of this breakup of the charcoal on the surface, and it's like it sort of takes the drawing away, if that makes sense. It no longer feels like a drawing because of it. It's got a little bit more than just a linear, or it feels a little bit more than a linear execution. It's got more I'm going to say texture, but it's not, the word's not a texture really. I see people drawing beards, and it's a big thing, particularly if you're doing the realistic thing. You're trying to make them. Somebody said to me this morning about my drawings are very realistic. What's your inspiration? Right there, you know that this person's not an artist, but someone asked that question. But it's, I don't think realism is ever my objective. I think it's always about capturing it's always about capturing the essence, regardless of execution. It's funny that I watched this guy, really famous portrait artist, and he was talking about he put a painting on, and it was not very good really. It was not his usual standard. It was a slightly caricature feel about it, and then he put the next stage on and the next stage on, and he called it simplification. What he was doing, what changed as I could see it, was the tones. It wasn't that he was simplifying the shapes of things or amalgamating things. The tones changed, and all of a sudden the relationships between things changed. So suddenly the shapes that looked a bit caricature were now softer and more realistic, I suppose is the word. And it was just tone that was doing that. And I'm kind of focused all the time on the tonal aspects of it. Not from the get-go, because I'm more bothered about the locations of things and the relationships of things. But I'm using tone to do that, as I said before. But as I work through it, it's the tonal aspects that start to bring the shapes to life. Obviously, light illuminates form. That thing, and that is the realism that people see in what I do. It's not an attempt to be realistic. It's not even an attempt to be anything. It's just me responding to it. And if it turns out that it appears to be realistic, then so be it. It may well be that it doesn't appear to be realistic, but again, so be it. It's my response to it, and that's really what I was saying earlier about the woman that wanted to do a self-portrait, and it was going to be hyper-realistic. So she kind of sealed a fate right from the beginning. You know, it's like that's a contradiction. Really, I think that no self-portrait should be hyper-realistic. You know what I mean? Because it's not. You're going to show people what they can already see, basically. And that for me is always the reason why I'd question hyperrealism. We can already see what you've just illustrated with a million percent more detail. I can already see that. I can already see the buttons on the shirt. I can already see the fine detail in the cotton. You know, I can see all that. Show me something I can't see. And that's the trick in it. Hey. This is what I'm saying about the responsive thing. If we respond to a face, and we our emotions drive the way that we respond. This charcoal, I've noticed this a couple of times now, and I'm getting used to using it. As I said before, once I've a new batch, it takes a while before I get used to using it. But it has it's almost like a point at which it starts to do its thing, you know, and it's starting to do it now. It's not doing it right from the beginning. It's when there's a mix of charcoal on there and whether it be smudgy blends or whatever it might be, and it starts to do the, you know, breaking down and looking more textural. It takes a while for it to do that. The other thing is the shortfall in the, you know, in the tonal range. I tend to make up with this hatching, so there's a combination of the blending and the smoothing and some hatching, and I think all of that is what you see when it starts to work. But that's, as I said, it's peculiar to this. It's probably peculiar to this batch of charcoal. Not all of it's like this, and it's also peculiar to the paper. The paper's pretty crap, so that's a big factor. So I'm having to adjust for the poor paper. So I'm just going to check the alignments really. So I'm in two minds whether to sharpen the charcoal as well, and then just to highlight some of the locations of things. This is the problem. You see that that's too light, and it's causing that. You see the difference now. It starts to balance. The tones start to balance. Yeah. That's one of the problems with this charcoal as well. The build-up of charcoal on the surface, and it creates those really dark, dense, too dense, too hard. The same as doing it in the eye as well. Yeah, so I think the only thing that I'm looking at that is the problem with it is the undulation thing. You know, the overemphasis of highlights or shadows. It's much grayer than you know, overall. In the centre there, it's much grayer. Yeah. The ear's not quite right. It's just a little bit. It's a bit too light. That's the main thing, but it's not quite right there. It's a bit bigger, I think. Yeah, it is. I'm just looking at the locations of things, you know, to work out whether or not it's. Don't take that as some kind of guide, though. That's just me looking for alignments. It's not saying that the top is always in line with the eyebrow and so on. So people have ears all over the place, so don't get locked into that. I think it's got to be the same as this, that, and the other, and it lines up here and wherever. No, don't do that. It's peculiar every time and different every time. Yeah, so as I kill the undulation thing, the getting rid of the highlights that shouldn't be and the shadows that shouldn't be and all that sort of thing, without it becoming too grey, look how it starts to change. It becomes more realistic, I suppose is the word, but it's the lure of the highlights. I've said this before about highlights. We make something, we put a highlight on something. Yeah, look at that! Look how good that looks. And we get sucked into the execution of it. You know, oh, I did a great job on that eye. Look at the highlights. So it's reflective, you know. Yeah, the beard's a little bit too small. A little bit too small. I don't know. It's a bit of a tufty thing that goes on, you know, on the bottom there, but it's not. It looks a bit small to me. That I'm just looking there to there to there. And then I'm looking there now. So I'm just trying to work out if that ear is about the right size. Or the right width away from there. That's what I meant to say. Size-wise, I think it's pretty much where it should be. Yeah, I think I'm going to sharpen this charcoal, or just put a bit of a point on it for the sake of the a bit more accuracy. You know, it's all right for a while where lines or marks end up where you don't want them, and you kind of live with them. But there comes a point where you've got to know exactly where you're putting stuff. Yeah. So this is the point where the tones start to shape the, you know, the forms. And the other thing about it as well is that when we're talking about tonal values, we don't really consider the lines tonal value, because sometimes lines can be part of the problem. You know, the actual line itself creates a value, not the cumulative thing, the cross-hatching thing, but actual lines themselves can have a strength, a tonal value that will impact on the, you know, the overall tonal effect. And it's part of the, you know, when you're drawing in the first, to start with, it's part of the problem when you make the lines really definitive, that it becomes difficult to see how the shapes are working, because these dark lines overpower the, you know, your measurements, your comparisons. Yeah, I think the what I can get the difference between this here tonally is minuscule, and it has to. It's there but not there. There's kind of white highlights there, and there's little bits of it showing through here, and and getting that to feel right is the aim really there, as opposed to because you just easily just put highlight, and this is the lure of the highlight again. This here, look, there's a highlight there. There isn't a highlight there. There isn't. It's just lighter, and that you kind of, if you're not careful with the beards, like with that one last night, you can be. I will wait a bit around. I know I said about the dropping off. I'll be careful with it, but you can get seduced by this. For instance, this bit here. So for a long time, when I was drawing it, if you saw it, it remained quite light, and similarly down here. But gradually, as I start to work the thing, it loses its. Apart from the ones that are important, that one and that one, the rest of it is just subtle changes in light and dark tones. That's the thing with beards. It's not. It's never. It's always subtle. It's always. Even with the the definite hard, unless it's how you see it. If you see it as a Gandalf kind of cartoony type, the one that's fine. That's just how it is. But if you're trying to, if you want it to be realistic, it's not going to be white and dark. My beard is it graduates. It doesn't have any particular highlights within it. If you look at anybody with a beard, it's a grey beard, an older beard, you'll see that. And obviously it's different when it's a younger beard and it's still black, but which is kind of what I was looking for yesterday when I found that lesson. I was looking for black beard. I don't know why I got it in my head that I was going to draw a beard, but it had to be like a black beard, what was his name? He was I can't remember his name now. Anyway, but I was looking for that, and that's how I ended up with the wild beard on that guy. But it's like hair, hair and beards. There isn't draw them in the same way, It's not a million miles away. Both of them are very similar in the way that you treat it. It's about the fluctuations in tone as much as anything else. I think the inclination thing, the inclination of his head, the inclination of his head is just about that. And I think the only thing that's going to complete that is there is a tiny little white in there. And there is I suppose there's that one there that immediately makes him look down, and then there's the lighter under lid that does it as well, and then there's the where the top of the lid actually ends there immediately makes his eye down, probably a little bit too there like that. It needs to be much straighter than that, but it's fine because it's too big anyway. yeah, I'm going to kill that white there. It's a bit too light. Okay, I'll do it. Get rid of those bags under his eyes. I think that's done it. I think that's things need a little bit of adjustment in terms of the dominance of things. You know, the tonal dominance. I need to just go over that and